And we're back with Mascot and Company. I'm Mark Scott, and my guest today is Mark Breslin from YukYuks.
Mr. Breslin, if you had a mascot, what kind of beast would it be?
A rodent of some sort.
A rodent?
Yeah, I'm a rodent.
A gopher?
Not a gopher. I think I'm a rat.
Ratus.
Oh, actually, now, I have done mascots of people. I made one of Al Johnson.
Right.
I did one of Mike Bullard and one of Orrin Isaacs. The one of Orrin Isaacs has actually been used as the mascot for Canadian Idol.
Oh, great.
And we'll have Orrin in to talk about that. But it's interesting. I think that would be a fun thing to do, a mascot of you.
A penguin would be good, too, because I always dress up. Right?
That's true.
Yeah, they're dressed for dinner, which is nice about penguins.
But do penguins wear loafers? I notice you're wearing loafers.
Well, in the summer.
I see.
In the summer. And it gets up to like a nice balmy 3 degrees, and I think that's when they wear their loafers, yeah. Otherwise, they wear dress Oxfords. I've seen them. Hard for them to tie their shoes with those little flippers, but a lot of my kids have the same problem.
No, Mark, also, you did say earlier you were a teetotaler.
You ever tried to... I said, that's right, I don't drink. I didn't say I didn't do anything else.
You didn't say...
Lots of acid
He's got natural drugs.
When the truth is found, ding, 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 to be...
Oh, my God.
You must have had a great time with Joan Rivers producing her show.
Yeah, I mean, I got that job out of the blue, and in Hollywood you don't get jobs out of the blue. You work your way up one step at a time. I'd never really worked in Hollywood before, except as a writer on the first 2 seasons of Evening at the Improv, which was not a good job for me. It was not a good job for anybody, really. But I guess it was 1986. I'm at the club one night. I'm about to go on, and somebody says, "Mark, there's a call for you." I said, "No, I'm about to go on." He said, "I think it's Joan Rivers." I said, "Joan Rivers?" My first thought was, who does a good Joan Rivers impersonation that I know? So I go on, I pick up the phone, and it's Joan Rivers. And she's telling me what I already read in the papers, that she has a new show that's going to open up the fledgling Fox network, and blah, 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 blah. She said, "Well, you've come very recommended. I'm looking to talk to somebody who knows something about comedy. I got to figure out what to do with comedy on the show." And I said, "Well, all right. What do you want to know?" She said, "Can you fly down to L.A.? Can I fly you down to L.A. next week? Where do you like to stay?" I said, "Okay, Chateau Marmont." She went, "Okay, fine. You'll have a flight, first class, and you'll come down for 2 days. Come to my house. I'll put Dorothy on the phone. She'll give you all the details." So I put the phone down, and I go out and I do my act. And then later that night, I say to people, "Joan Rivers called me. She's flying me down." They said, "That's a job interview." I said, "No, she just wants to pick my brain." "It's a job interview, Mark." "Really? You think so?" So I show up at her mansion in Bel Air, and the door's open, and this guy who had to be 6'8" is there in a white livery and silver tray. "Rivers will be with you in a moment. Come into the study. What would you like?" "I'll have a Perrier." "Very good, sir." And I wait a few moments, and then Joan Rivers barrels in with her face entirely wrapped in bandages, except for her eyes. And now I don't know, do I refer to this? Do I try to pretend it isn't happening? What do I do? Well, I said, "Joan, you're bandaged up." She goes, "Oh, acid peel, price of beauty." So we start to talk. And we're talking about different comics and comedy. What do we like in comedy? What's new in comedy? She says, "Mark, I think you've got to meet my assistant, Dorothy. Do you mind?" I said, "No." "Dorothy, come down. I want you to meet Mark Breslin." And this woman comes down, and I see she's got a bandage on her ear. And I said, "What happened to you?" She said, "Oh, I always wanted my ear pinned back. It stuck out too much." I went, "Oh, all right." We're talking some more, and Joan says, "I want you to meet my manager, Billy Samuth. He manages Cher and Elton John and myself, and he's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And he'll be here in a couple of minutes. Do you mind staying?" I said, "No, not at all." Billy Samuth comes in, and he's got this big bandage on his nose. And I said, "Don't tell me. Let me guess. You should see the other guy." He said, "No, I needed a nose job once and for all. Get rid of the hook." And I said, "Joan, what have I stumbled into here? Is this some kind of a cult?" She says, "Well, to tell you the truth, Mark, if I have a good year, I take all the people that's closest to me, and I buy them one piece of cosmetic surgery." And I had a very good year. I said, "Joan, that's wonderful." She said, "If you would be working with us, and we had a good year, what would you have done?" And said, "Actually, Joan, I've always needed a penis reduction." And there was like that moment, and then the three of them burst into laughter, and she said, "You've got the job!"
All right.
And I moved down to L.A. 2 months later, and I
Got a penis.
started working on the show.
It's funny.
It was a great gig.
So you worked the run of the show?
Yeah, well, I worked it actually even after they got rid of Joan. I quit. I was the comedy producer, and I quit because I felt, well, if they're going to get rid of Joan brought me in. I'm very loyal, and I'll quit. So I put my resignation on the vice president's desk, and that was on a Friday. On Saturday afternoon, I had a beautiful little house in L.A. with a pool. I was at the pool, and I hear the doorbell rings, and someone's screaming, "Mark, Mark." So I put my shorts on, I go to the door, and it's the vice president of Fox. He said, I was just driving by. Now, I got to tell you, I lived in a house in the hills that was so hard to find, I couldn't find it, and I lived there. He was just not driving by. So he comes in, and he goes, "Look, Joan's left. We really like you. We really like your style. We like your car." This is L.A., remember?
We like your car.
Yeah, they like my car. We'd like you to stay on, and we'd like you to produce the actual show, the whole show, not just the comedy. I said, "Well, who's going to be the host?" He said, "Well, we're going to go for a lot of different people, and we're going to see who works. Do you want the job?" I said, "I'll call Joan. If it's okay with her, I'll take the job." And I called Joan. I said, "Look, this is what they offered me." She said, "Of course, take it." I said, "Tell me everything that happens, but take it." And I did. And I maintained my relationship and friendship with Joan for quite a while I had this other job for quite a while. And eventually, that turned into the Arsinio Hall show. Because Arsinio was the guy that we found that was the best at the job. And that lasted for a while. Then Arsinio quit, and then the show fell apart. They gave me a huge check. I moved to Maui and lived there for 6 months, and then moved back to Toronto to save my failing business that I had ignored for 2 years. And that was all 86, 87, 88.